Welcome back to 3 Talk. We're live and decoding personalities with Doug Forbes and his human Pincode. And we've also got Matt Hazer in the studio. Tell us about the seminars that you're going to be running with Doug.
Nadine, we're trying to now introduce it to the public. So on the 25th of February, we will be in Cape Town at the International Conference Centre there. And then on the 4th of March, we will be here at the Wits Great Hall in Johannesburg. And bookings can be made through CompuTicket, as from today.
Right. And details, if you wanted, you wanted to find out more information, is there a website that one can go to?
It's www.humanpincode.com. And all of the bookings will be on there, and all our travels overseas will be there, and all the books are available on there, so everything will be available on the website.
And we've got the website on screen right now. What do you say to the skeptics?
I've learned probably more from the skeptics than I've done from people who have come to learn, love pin codes, because for every time there's a question, I have to go and research, because as far as I'm concerned, pin codes is the truth about yourself. And if you really understand and accept yourself for who you are, I think you're a lot more tolerant with people around you. So the skeptics will come and say, but I disbelieve, or I don't like that. And it's actually my job to go and find out why they would be skeptical about it. So I've learned more from them than anybody else.
All right, let's go to Annette in Durban. Annette.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for your program and interesting topics.
Thank you, Annette. What's your date of birth?
23rd of March.
Yes.
1945.
March 1945. Why are you laughing there? Have you already worked it out? Stay on the line, Annette. Stay on the line. Why are you laughing, Matt?
Is it the 23rd of March?
23rd of March, 1945. That must be an interesting code, isn't it?
Annette, are you still working?
Yes, I am.
You've got... you need to have a look at what you're doing in your life. It's not changes. You're not making changes. In fact, you've got a period where you can enhance what you're doing, and people around you that you haven't been too happy with might be moving out and moving away. You're doing a lot of soul-searching and sorting out in your life as we talk now. So I think one of your New Year's resolutions was more than what you do with yourself, it's people around you, and to get people sorted out. But it's sorting people out here for you this year.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
Okay, well, that has helped. Thank you very much for your call. Let's go straight to Michelle in Roodepoort. Michelle?
Good evening, Nolene.
Good evening. Your date of birth?
Sorry?
Michelle?
My
your
date of birth is the 19th of February, 1967.
19th of February, 1967. And what do you specifically want to know?
Well, just work, love life, what's in store for my kids, just the general stuff.
Okay, stay on the line, Michelle, general stuff.
The work situation, you need to address people around you, and you need to be a little bit more assertive. I say a little bit more because you're quite assertive and you tend to say what you want to say anyway. But you've taken a bit of a backseat for a while, so you need to open up and talk for yourself. I think you'll be quite surprised at the results that you can get at this time or during this period. And it's not that you're unkind or saying anything, but it'll just deal with your own ego and what you want out of life at the moment. I think you've been a bit downtrodden in the last couple of... And I say downtrodden in a nice sense. You've done too much for other people. It's now your turn.
Does that work for you, Michelle?
Most definitely, Nolene.
All right. Thank you very much for your call, Michelle in Roodepoort. The Human Pincode Relationships. This is a new book.
That's the new book. That's on relationship. They came out last year, and we have another one coming out in March called Human Pincode Synergy.
Yeah. And what is Human Pincode Synergy?
When you look at a family, for instance, you can take two partners in life and actually superimpose their pin codes and create a synergy pin code. So what's so interesting with the pin code is you never lose the two individual pin codes. You create a third pin code, which is the synergy pin code. And you look at how the couple is functioning, or then a mother and daughter, or a family, or you can do a business. We're going to do businesses management. We're going to look at restructuring of management, for instance. So what we're doing really, Nolene, is we're trying to give structure to all of the good stuff that's coming from Douglas. So we're just bringing the structure and the management and the real business behind it. So we're going to apply.
Well, it's been fascinating as always, Doug and Matt. Thank you very much for joining us on 3 Talks. 3 Talk and Oval International could make your educational dreams come true. You could win bursaries to the value of R500,000 in our Career Champions competition. Whether you left school last year or many years ago, you could stand in line to win. SMS the word bursary, your name and postal address to 37509. That's bursary, your name and postal address to 37509. You will receive an entry form, complete all the details and post it back to us, or you can drop it off at any one of the Oval College outlets nationwide. Take the opportunity to improve all aspects of your life. So enter now. Tune in on Monday when we discuss postnatal depression. This is a common afterbirth illness in new mothers and often gets misdiagnosed and overlooked, yet it's a reality. From all of us at 3 Talk, good night and have a great weekend.
Today is all that important, but if today is your birthday, you'll be happy to meet our guest. Not because he was born today necessarily, but because the number arrangement of your birth date is all he needs to unlock the secrets of your future.
When people ask him how different he is to a psychic, his answer is always that he has studied science, psychology, and physics. Today on Mojo, we welcome the author of The Human Pincode, Mr. Douglas Forbes. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Forbes, welcome to our home. Please make yourself comfortable.
Do you want to take a seat?
Can I offer you something to drink?
Thank you.
You fine with your water?
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Okay, good. Douglas, you know, I was very interested, fascinated really by your book, because I'm quite interested in psychology, astrology, and basically anything that gives us greater insight into the human being. And I dabbled in numerology, read a few books and things, but yours seem to be more precise. Could you just give us a bit more background into the Human Pincode, what it's all about and how it came about? What is the Human Pincode exactly?
The Human Pincode, and where it started, I mean, we have an ATM pin code, and we go onto the internet and we have a pin code, and you go to your cell phone, you've got a pin code, and I thought, now why haven't we got a pin code? So that's how it got its name, the Human Pincode. And that's really what it does, because you go in and you access your through your birthday, your PIN code. Now, you're going to say to me, and it's probably the most frequently asked questions, out of 3 numbers, I mean, everybody's got 3 numbers. But it's a little bit more complicated than that, and it gets broken down into 8 parts, which if you're interested in, I can get a piece of paper, I'll show you how it works.
What information does it unlock about the individual?
Well, if you look at the whole name of the PIN code, it's the holographic matrix of the human pin code. So what we're looking at is the matrix of the human body, and as you know, they've discovered the genome, which now maps out the entire genetic code of the body. What we're now looking at potentially is the entire map of the psychological mind.
So in simple terms, it tells you personality traits. Is that the kind of information? Psychologically, what makes you up?
What kind of information?
One must be careful with psychology, because you know psychology will deal through psychometric testing and evaluate. Now, what this does is you do not need to ask a question. You do not need to go through a series of tests. It does not discriminate. When you do PIN codes, you just need to know, is it male or female? And I'll show you why just now.
There are lots of skeptics out there, and they'd like to see this system of yours in action. So we've got a set of numbers. We'd like you to pick a number out of the bowl, And if you will, give us a bit more insight into who that personality is. And to be fair to you, that is a public persona, if you will.
All right, can I
Yes,
use
please,
this
go ahead, yeah.
book over here? Because I need to do a few things with it. Because you don't just read it off the birthday. And then what one must understand with this is that once I've got it together, the interesting thing about pin codes is, and you know, everybody sort of looks at it in a static way, oh, your birthday, and trying to find birthdays. Pin codes has a birthday, it has a beginning, and it's the only system that when it starts, winds its way like in a vortex and comes back to where it started.
Like a cipher.
So it's not a linear where it, a numerology does this. They need your name, they head off in a sort of direction. This looks at this and winds itself around. So.
But are there aspects of numerology in there? Because I know that you devolve numbers into a single digit and that sort of thing.
Obviously, all of those ologies, numerology, astrology, psychology, we're using the English language, and there are ways of describing. Yes, there's going to be overlaps, but this is really sorted out how you process. And you don't need to go and ask anybody any questions. This is the most important thing about this. It is very, very simple. If I can say one thing about it, and a colleague of mine has got a 16-year-old daughter who he got the book, he bought the book, she read the book and is now doing all the pin codes at school, you see. So
it's basically something that you can learn from just reading that. So can I refer to this when you're inconsistent with what the pin code says you should be? Zam, according to this,
well, Baba, it goes both
your
ways.
behavior
so
is
according
inconsistent
to this, your behavior is inconsistent with.
But you don't know what my my number is.
I do know. Of course I know what your number is. I've actually, interestingly enough, opened it up on the page of your particular number.
So do you think that describes me?
I think there are elements here that are definitely descriptive of you.
We want to ask what those elements are.
No, we won't. No, we'll let Douglas tell us that.
Yeah. Are you any closer to? Because I'm very anxious to.
Disturbing him a bit.
I am. But the interesting thing with this pin code and what jumps out here is this is a person with a lot of dignity, a lot of decorum, a very regal presence. People listen. A brilliant mind, I must tell you. You see what sits in the pin code. A wonderful philosopher. A person that would sort of be kept away or kept out of the limelight for quite a while, and then come to the fore in later life, because it's a person who's going to go through a lot of lessons, tough lessons. Now, the interesting thing in this pin code, there's no practicality in this. So it's a person who's either sat in one place for many, many years, or on the other side of it has travelled and travelled and travelled, but will enjoy travelling. But as the person gets older, prefers to stay at home. Very creative, brilliant mind in creativity. The strong point of this is the philosopher that steps up, because it sits where the purpose of the life is. So a very deep soul, even as you look, when this person was a child, you know, you look at this and say, this is an old soul. And interesting with all of this is this person needs to learn how to stay focused, because they want to spread themselves too much.
Are you sure you don't know who this person is? Are you sure you don't know this date? I'm sorry, I think you know this date. You've worked with this birthdays before. Because that is just too accurate.
So we revealed to you who the person is.
I'd like to know who it is.
It's Nelson Mandela.
It's Nelson Mandela. I mean, and really everything you've said is exactly, I mean, it describes him to the T.
Okay.
Well, that is truly amazing. That's truly intriguing. Will it work on us? We're going to find out after the break. We're going to ask Douglas to apply his theories on us. Don't go away.
We know you don't want to go away.
You're not brave and dominant and strong.
I am,
what have I bought into?
I put the two of you together, but I'm not going to do that now, because I'm just going to do the two of you separately.
Okay, so should we be afraid at this stage? Should I grab my blankie?
Well, not quite, but you know, interesting. Somebody said to me one day, is there a perfect pin code? Because I'd like the perfect pin code. There's no perfect pin code. Every pin code has its good and I don't want to say bad, you know, it's the active and reactive. So it's got a very positive side to it, and if you're acting in the negative or in the reactive side of your pin code, you need to study the book and then have a look and say, I am this and I need to be there.
Yes.
But that's your choice. Everything in this is a choice.
Choice, definitely.
It's even your destiny.
Okay.
Right, let's have a look at it. No air in the pin code. This means you live in your head and you are a very good ideas person. You've got a very short fuse. You don't suffer fools gladly. You're a very sociable person. You can switch off when you want to. And when... if I said something...
Don't look at me for an answer.
When you've had enough, or, you know, when people don't interest you, or you're not, there's nothing of interest around you, you just switch into your own world and off you go. And people tend to think that because of this, that you're arrogant. And it's not so. It's just that, you know, it's on a need-to basis. If I'm enjoying and I'm talking to you, you can be very chatty. And if there's nothing interest or there's nothing intellectual to stimulate you, you just switch off. You're very creative. You've got a very good ideas person. You love to socialize, you love people, you enjoy partying, by the way. And there's a nice caring side to you as well. But very practical. You like to travel. You'd love stuff with design. This is a lovely pin code for designing.
Yeah.
And for image and what people do with image. You just know what people want. You just have a knack. Very, very perceptive. You can get a little bit irritable sometimes and throw the toys out the cot now and again.
Just a bit.
And especially if it's not going your way. If it's going your way, it's fine. But understand what you're doing and what you're out with this is to get from point A to point B as quickly as possible, efficiently as possible, and as beautifully as possible. Interesting is in your lesson, you need to learn to stay focused because you can get very scatterbrained and a lot of ideas and moving off in a lot of directions some of the time. Now, let's have a look at Sam.
I always thought you were
Quite focused.
quite focused, maybe.
You have too many ideas and you need to sort of bring it down and keep it to one. And if you get it on one, you'll get to the results much quicker because you get bored very quickly. This is the problem. That's why you've got to learn to stay focused.
Yeah.
You've got an interesting pin code. You tend, there's two sides to you, all right? Now, not that there's something wrong with you psychologically, is what you present to the world and what's really going on behind the scenes. You tend to be in people's face and you come across as sort of very brave and very, dominant and very strong. This is just a presence. You're actually quite a softie, by the way.
You're not brave and dominant and strong.
I am, my
What
baby.
have I bought into?
And I said to you just now, I've got a part of the pin code that I've just had to leave till this part.
This is where I'm going to grab my blankie, boy.
It's always what you're doing. And I love this side in a pin code because at the end of the day, with all the brashness, with all that exterior that you put on, you're actually a very, very kind, lovable, caring, genuine, sincere person. You can be a bit stubborn and you need to learn to be a bit flexible.
Yes.
And when it wants to go your way, you need to go your way. And then you almost don't care about other people. Very perceptive. You pick up on things very easily. You approach your work and any task that you do very seriously. It's got to be built, it's got to be sorted out, it's got to have a form, it's got to have a construction, it's got to have a plan, you've got to stick to the plan. You've got a lot of patience, a lot more than you've got, you see. But if things irritate you, it sort of gets less and less and less till eventually it just blows, and then you sort of have to come back the next day and start again but you've got a very gregarious nature, you've got a very outgoing, people love you, and it's not for you to get people to like you or love you, it's just who you are. You're just a natural at this. But of course that one side, a little bit of abrasive. You got a very inquiring, investigative mind. And you need to know why. All the time. You don't know what you're going to do with it, but why is this? Why is that? What did you do here?
So that's where Zenzo gets it. Why? He's learned why recently and it's all his fault.
Lovely creativity as well. There's a nice creative side to you. Would enjoy sport. And if you're not participating, you would enjoy watching. Sometimes a bit of an adrenaline pump, you enjoy that as well. Not too much, but...
The odd jump out of a plane 11,000 feet.
Yeah, occasionally is fine. You don't mind that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm very interested to know how it works, because I think it's pretty accurate.
Can I do a demonstration?
Please.
Maybe give another birth date.
Our president.
Shall we do that?
Let's do that.
President, yes, please. The easel is yours.
There we go. We've got a marker over there. Move this a bit this way. Okay.
Right, so what we've got here, his birthday is the 18th of June, 1942. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring it down to its box. And like good maths, what we do here, that's the common denominator between the two. And so what we do here is we add that to that, therefore we add that to that. So the 18 to bring it down, because we only use single numbers. So
9, yeah.
if you, like in this instance, the 18, the personality becomes a 9. 1 and 8 is 9. Yeah. And then the month is a 6, and then we add this up together. That's 1 and 9 is 10, plus 4 is 14, and plus 2 is 16. 1 and 6 is 7. Now that gets added.
Are we reading anything at this stage? When you're basically working this out, and you're looking at the 9, 6, and the 7, are those numbers already starting to tell a picture?
Because what we've got here is the personality, how he interacts on a social level, and the social interactor, because that's what we call social consciousness, and then global consciousness.
Right.
And so this and that, 9 and 6 is 15, 1 and 5 is 6. And 6 and 7 is 13, 1 and 3 is a 4.
So it's 1.
Yeah, so we've got to keep going, we've got to end it. So it comes down to
1.
10 and then 1, obviously.
Yeah. So just so our viewers understand, that 6 and 4 becomes 10, everything must be devolved to 1 number, so we lose the 0 and becomes 1.
Yes, so we get down to this. And of course now we can see where the president, that's the leader, where the president sits. Because in the superego, or what we call the sense of spirit, how you do things with other people, how your interaction with a nation, how your interaction sits a leader.
Yes.
Now the personality 9, that's interesting because often he will make statements and that people don't understand, or he makes something that doesn't quite sound, and that's what the 9 does. It's the number of the child, it's innocent, and it says what, he will say what he means.
Yes.
And he will believe that it's the truth, so he will speak straight from the heart. Now that doesn't mean sometimes in a political situation that they want to hear that.
Yes.
So, you know, he would sometimes make statements. It confuses people sometimes. But when he speaks, they must understand, he speaks from the heart and the truth. This will indicate, because that's a 6 and that's a 6, that's the social consciousness and how you interact socially. He's very easy. This, you'd see here, very easygoing, laid back, calm, there's no rush. But that's what the 6 is. 6 want balance. So he's always looking for a balance. And of course in his purpose, now what we've got to still do here is add those up there. Because remember we brought all of this down here. We've now got to take that across there. So if we add 9 and 6 is 15 and 7, 22. So that is a 4. And now we take this one and we add it to that one, because the cycle of this person deals with the individual, the personality. So that will make a
4.
A 4 at the end. So that's his lesson. And of course his lesson to learn in his lifetime is integrity and how to deal with integrity. So that brings a lot of temptations all the time, and dealing with two sides, the two sides of life, the good, not necessarily
active,
bad,
reactive.
Active, reactive, but it deals with temptation, but it deals with integrity and bringing people in that he needs to deal with integrity.
Right.
So as long as he's learning his lesson, that will be good. And of course, look at this. He's got 3 of them. So we can look at the career as a statesman. When he talks and when he says something, he would research and have a look at, make sure that what he's talking about, the facts are correct. That's why often when you hear him make a statement and the rest of the world even jump up and say, you know, that what we're not realizing, because now it's political, what he has said is the truth, and that's what we need to look at.
Yes.
And of course, born to lead. That's what that's about.
Wow. Well, totally astonishing. And I suppose it confirms what I believe about the universe, that everything is connected. If we only knew where to find all those connections. When we come back, we talk more to Douglas about fate, about destiny, and what happens if you don't know your birthday. Right after the break, you're still on Mojo. Do we choose our birth date?
No, the mother chooses the birth date.
Eastern yogic philosophy, if you will, believes to an extent that you choose to incarnate and you choose your life and you choose your parents. The question then is, if that is the premise, I don't know if that's necessarily your premise, do we choose our birth date?
No, the mother chooses the birth date. And can I give you a little anecdote about this?
Someone will argue the mother and the father choose the birth date.
I've been travelling up and down to Durban, and I've got friends down in Durban, and they've been trying for about 10 years to fall pregnant, and so they gave it up. And they started both working, and they started renovations on the house, and other things sort of preoccupied their mind, and she fell pregnant. And about 6 months down the road, he says to me, can you know, this is prior to the book coming out, because they knew my work, and they said, you know, your pin codes, can you tell us when is a good day, or when do you think this baby is going to be born? So I worked it out, I put all the conditions, I knew what was going on in their lives, and I said, this child will be born on the 30th of November 2001. And I left him, they went and made the necessary arrangements and booked the cesarean. And now, knowing his pin code, and he's got a few nines in them, nines love conspiracy, so they start to read things into whatever. And I get a phone call about a month before the baby's due to be born, and he says to me, we've decided to cancel this cesarean because you cannot play God. So I said, well, it's a choice. That's your choice. And I let them go. And they've now decided that they're going to have a water birth.
Natural birth, yeah.
And I happened to be down in Durban at the time on the 29th of November. And I was going back to the airport. I was flying back to Johannesburg. And he's saying to me, you know, pin codes doesn't work because the baby's now due on the 8th and everything's fine. Meantime, his wife had gone to have a scan. And while we're driving to the airport, the phone rings. And it's his wife, and she says, and I see his face drop. And he turns to me, I said, no, is there a problem? He said, she's just had a scan, the baby's gone breech, and the cord has wrapped itself twice around the baby's neck. And the doctor suggests that an emergency Caesar be done tomorrow on the 30th.
You're born in war-torn Mozambique, for instance, and your birth date was never recorded. Is there a way to discern that person's character, their traits? Without knowing the birth date? Without necessarily having those numbers.
I received a letter from a woman, and Marion Clutie, and Marion was voted as one of the Women of the Year. And
this is your psychologist friend?
Yes, right. And she'd written to me saying that she'd now bought the book at the beginning of the year. She runs an NGO.